Hello and welcome to From the Top Rope, episode 11, live from Las Vegas. At least on my end it is. I am super tired. It's about 6 a.m. over here, I think. Working on no sleep. We were on a long flight. It was about 7 hours. I missed SmackDown, so my co-host and tag team partner, Jared Carrabis, is going to have to fill me in on that, but we got a ton of other shit that I did see. Before we get into all that, make sure you download, rate, subscribe, iTunes, whatever. You guys have been sending the reviews. You're making me laugh. Everyone comes in and I'm like laughing my ass off at the funny shit you're writing. So keep doing that. I'm still retweeting. Jared's retweeting. The main account's retweeting. We're all retweeting. Spotify, Stitcher, whatever the fuck we're on. Subscribe on that. Follow us on Twitter at From the Top. Follow us on Instagram at From the Top. Nick Buono still killing it. Jared, what's going on, man?
How are you, pal? You sound tired, and I appreciate you fighting through this little trip to Vegas you got there with 4 hours of sleep, you said.
Doing it for the grapple fucks, not
Absolutely. You. Well, yeah, it is what it is. It's you got to get over.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here for McGregor Mayweather, obviously. And speaking of McGregor Mayweather, I got McGregor in the fight. Obviously, I'm a big 49-1 guy. Dave's got Mayweather. We're kind of going head to head. We're button heads out here, and it's the biggest fight of the past 20 years, maybe the biggest fight ever. And if you're looking to cash in about your sports knowledge, mybookie.ag is offering up a 100% sign-up bonus on your first deposit. With MyBookie, you don't have to go to Vegas out here for great sports betting or ask around at seedy bars to find a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. My guy is mybookie.ag. It's online sports betting made easy, and they accept your bets anywhere, anytime. They even offer live in-game betting to bring the action anywhere you go. Trust me when I say they're the best, and I would never use any other sports book. Bet the fight, bet the game, college, pro, whatever the fuck you want to bet. They got it. They got lines for it. MyBookie.ag makes it easy to sign in and even easier to play. They have some of the fastest payout times in the business with 48-hour processing. And right now, for our listeners, you can head over to MyBookie.ag and use the promo code TOPROPE. It is TOPROPE. For a bonus of up to 100% on your first deposit. Expert or rookie, you got to check out MyBookie. Win some money, and it's on us. All right, Jared, we didn't talk about it on our SummerSlam recap because we had enough to talk about. That was like a 12-hour show, so we were like, all right, we can't release an epic podcast of 3 hours. But we have to touch on NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3.
Great show.
This was a fucking awesome show, like absolutely amazing show. I'm a huge NXT guy, bigger NXT TakeOver guy. I think their weekly show could use a lot of work. It's an hour. There's a lot of squash matches. The roster is very deep now, so it's a little weird that they have this whole like hour-long show with squash matches and no real story progression. But 5 times a year we get to TakeOver, and never disappoints.
Yeah, I had asked you on Sunday. I was like, not disappointed, but I was curious. I was like, why was NXT TakeOver only like 2 hours when SummerSlam is like 6 hours? Like they definitely have the roster to have a longer show. And your answer was, Triple H just knows what the good matches are, and he knows he wants to have a great show versus throwing in a couple of piss break matches. To sacrifice a great show being just a good show or an okay show. So it ended up being a great show.
Yeah, he went 5 for 5. It opened up with Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas. I loved the shit out of this match. It was my favorite match all night. I've said it. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I've said it in the blog a ton. Johnny Gargano is, in my opinion, the greatest babyface wrestler in the world. There's no better underdog. There's no more sympathetic figure in the world of professional wrestling for me. I think he is the future of this company. I think he will, and I'm not using, any exaggeration here. I legitimately think he can be the next John Cena of the company if they just stay out of his way. He's got the look. He's got the promo skills. The promo skills are not to the Cena level, but he's got a very, very good underdog promo. The in-ring skills are very obviously there, and this match ended with Almas's manager throwing a shirt at him as he was getting ready to do his finisher. He looks at the shirt for a second, has a hesitation because it's a DIY shirt, gets drop-kicked into the corner, gets hit with a finisher, and he loses the match. This was such a fucking genius finish because Ciampa is injured. Very unfortunate injury because, that feud would have been red hot right away. But now they're showing that he is haunting Gargano even while he's injured. I loved everything about this, and I think Almas is super ready for the main roster.
Yeah, it was definitely a great way to kick off the show. Good match placement on the card. It was not my favorite match of the night.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, we're gonna get to what my favorite match of the night was, but not yet.
Up next was Sanity versus the Authors of Pain for the NXT Tag Team Championships.
You know I'm a big Sanity guy.
Yeah, you are a big Sanity guy, and this was reminded me a little bit of the SummerSlam main event in that, not at the time, obviously, because this was before SummerSlam, but it was just a bunch of fucking big dudes beating the fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about it was obviously the Nikki Cross Paul Ellering confrontation, and we all knew it was coming, but when it came, it was still great, still funny. Like Nikki Cross makes me laugh with her like over the top facial reactions. Sanity won the titles here, and I was a little surprised about that, but I was down with it. Alexander Wolf and Eric Young were the two representing Sanity, and Alexander Wolf impressed the fuck out of me. He was always kind of the guy I ignored as the like Eric Rowan of the group, like, oh yeah, he'll get the tag, he'll take the pin. He was really good in this match.
Yeah, it was a good match. Unexpected finish, which I think is what you're looking for anytime you need a, it's a short burst, and these NXT takeovers are short bursts. Yeah, it was definitely an unexpected title change. I did not see that coming.
And that final spot they went through where someone from one of the Authors of Pain caught Nikki Cross in midair, and then Killian Dane, who is one of the more underutilized guys on that whole brand. Shout out Cassius Ohno, too. He's maybe the best wrestler in the world, and they don't use him. But she got sandwiched in between two of the biggest guys I could imagine through a table. My God, Nikki, don't agree to that. Don't take that bump.
So hold on. Before we continue to talk about this actual match, I have a question for you, Bob. The first thing I'm thinking of anytime that there's a title change down in NXT is, did the team or individual who dropped said title, are they coming up to the main roster? So the Authors of Pain, can you see them on the main roster anytime soon now that they've dropped the NXT tag team titles?
It's a good question. I'm just going to go with my gut and say no. I think they have some unfinished business in NXT. TM61's coming back. They're trying to build up that tag division. You would think we're getting the Dusty Rhodes Tag Classics sometime soon. I think last year's was mid-September. The Mae Young Classic might put a halt in that. I'm not really sure. I'm going to say no for the Authors of Pain.
Okay, it's fair.
After the match, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish stormed the ring and beat the shit out of Sanity, and I was getting a little emotional about this because Kyle O'Reilly is a guy that I've known a little bit, not well. I've just met him on a few occasions. I wouldn't say I know him. I've met him. I was there backstage when he won the Ring of Honor World Championship at Final Battle. And it was just so emotional back there because everyone was like, this fucking guy worked his ass off for so many years. He deserves it. And now seeing him in the WWE in such a prominent way, Brooklyn going crazy for him, the fact that Nigel McGuinness was calling the action, Bobby Fish was right there by his side. They got to hit Chasing the Dragon, which like is one of those moves where it's it's when Kyle O'Reilly picks him up for the Brainbuster and he gets kicked. Brainbuster. Sorry, it's 6 a.m. out here. I'm delirious. I'm trying over here.
Effort.
But one of those moves you would think maybe gets banned because it's a very clear Brainbuster, but didn't. This just made me so happy as a wrestling fan. I was like, this is so fucking cool.
You know what's great about NXT is that they're great at continuing storylines on their big shows. Like in WWE on the main roster, which isn't the worst thing in the world. They will have these matches, clean finishes, and then we don't see how the story continues until Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. On NXT, there were several examples where we now see where the story is going from here, and we didn't have to wait to see the story progression.
Correct. This was just everything about this I loved, and this kind of filled up the opening hour of the show. And I thought to myself, like, there's no fucking way that, like, this show can keep up its pace. There's no way they can keep having matches as good as they're having. And they kind of fucking did. And the next match was Hideo Itami versus Alistair Black. Alistair Black got Code Orange to perform him out to the ring. Felt like a fucking massive superstar on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And this was a good match. The crowd was a little dead for it because of the last two matches were so 1, 2, oh. So crowd wasn't completely there for it. I also think the way the match was structured played a factor in that because it was so about facial reactions, and that obviously won't play to a live crowd as well. But as a fan of Hideo Itami before he was in the WWE, it hurts to see his WWE run because it has been so underwhelming. And I like the guy. Even in WWE, I like the guy. But it's just, he's a fourth of the wrestler he used to be. Alistair Black, another guy where I'm like, he's ready for the main roster right this second. Call him up. He is a superstar. He could be feuding with John Cena right now. And he hit his fade to black on Hideo Itami to finish the match. And it looked like he fucking killed him. I loved it.
Where would you rank this match on the card 1 through 5?
I would rank this match probably 3 or 4.
That's fair. What would you put dead last, though?
I would put, it's so hard because it's like, all of these matches are great. I might put McIntyre Roode dead last. And I enjoyed that match. I was defending that match on Twitter when people were trashing it.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Maybe, and you know what? I would probably put Sanity Authors of Pain dead last. And I just talked about that match. I loved it, but I would probably put that dead last.
So the fact that it's so difficult to rank which one was, we're not even saying the worst, because worst would imply bad. I don't think that there were any bad matches all night.
No bad matches.
Yeah.
None.
That's good.
The next match was fucking amazing. Speaking of great matches, Asuka defended her NXT Championship, Women's Championship, against Ember Moon. This was the night where everyone thought they would take the title off Asuka.
This was the best match of the night, in my opinion.
I will not argue that at all. In Orlando, right before WrestleMania, when they originally had this match, there was a feeling in the building of like, all right, it's WrestleMania weekend. Asuka's held the title for long enough. Ember Moon has been built up very well.
Yep.
Like the whole progression of Ember Moon's character has been great.
Yep.
Tonight's the night. She got up to hit the Eclipse. Asuka pushed the ref into her, finished the match 1, 2, 3, and we were all like, oh shit. Asuka can't be beat, I guess. Here we are months later, and we had that same feeling. All right, tonight's the night. Like, obviously, they told the story in the first match of Ember was trying to hit her finisher, and she couldn't do it. Very similar to the Tokyo Dome match between Okada and Omega. Omega just couldn't hit that one-winged angel. This night we're talking about here, she hit her finisher, and Asuka kicked out at 2 in one of my favorite wrestling moments of 2017. Because Ember sold it so well, as for the past few months, I have been telling myself, if only I hit my finisher, I would be the champion. And then Asuka kicked out at 2, and she realized she was a lot farther away than she thought she was.
Yep.
It was a great moment of psychology, great moment of building upon the last match, and Asuka wound up winning in the end, sending helplessness into the division.
Yeah, how many consecutive days now? Is it like 500?
Yeah, over 500.
Yeah. So
she's one of the most protected wrestlers in WWE history at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So if Ember Moon is, I mean, I still think that she's going to be the one to take the title off of Asuka, but if it's not her, who else could legitimately challenge Asuka for the title and win clean?
I'll tell you who. Whoever wins the Mae Young Classic.
That it would be a good rub. I mean,
a very good rub.
Yeah, I don't think it would be. I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, you're just the chosen one because you won the Mae Young Classic and now you're just in this spot. Like, I want it to be. It should, put it this way, it should be Ember Moon. They should continue this feud and build it up to I've finally climbed the mountain. Like, that's a better story than I won a tournament, got this opportunity, and then I just happened to beat her one time.
I'd be fine with it being Ember Moon, and I'd also be fine with it being the winner of the Mae Young Classic. I'm not gonna like say who I think it's going to be on this show because they've already taped pretty much everything up to the semifinal, and I don't want to spoil that for people. But with the names that are left, there's one that seems like it'll be a clear winner for me. And if she beats Asuka for the title, I think that would be fantastic. Moving on to the main event, Drew McIntyre challenged Bobby Roode for the NXT Championship. Got another cool entrance with the New York Fire Department playing him out on bagpipes. Bobby Roode, obviously a cool entrance, but you don't have to add anything to make that entrance awesome. I saw Twitter after this match was very down on it. They were like, that was a boring match. I really enjoyed it. I thought the physicality was great, like the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on the outside where Bobby Roode got dropped on the apron was great. It felt like a big main event match.
Yeah, so the thing about this match, and the thing that I loved about this match, wasn't even really the match. It was the fucking promo. Like the fact that they went all the way back to 2009 to sort of grab footage from Drew McIntyre's debut in the WWE, and just it was like a full circle storytelling type deal where on the main roster they're not doing shit like that. Like I remember, like a perfect example, obviously being a Kane fan, was when Kane put the mask on and he came back. And he had like the feud with Cena, and then it was Mark Henry that like injured Kane that put him out, and then he comes back. Like they forget recent history and they forget long-term history. The perfect opportunity for Kane to come back would have been to feud with Randy Orton, because Randy Orton interfered in that match where he like RKO'd him against Triple H, and then that's the reason why he had to unmask in the first place. Like that would have been perfect if they went back that far to just retell a great story. They don't do that on the main roster, but here in NXT, they completed the circle of the Drew McIntyre story by going back to when he first got there, how he thought he was the fucking shit, and how he was dead wrong, goes on the indies, rediscovers himself, comes back motivated. Now he knows what it takes to succeed in the WWE, has a completely different look, a completely different attitude. It's incredible to like look at the fucking 3MB guys, where they are right now. And it's great to see. That should inspire any guy that's on the indies or any guy that's, finding himself either off the card or in a dark match. It's like you can come back from that. Just because you're written off right now does not mean that you can't come back and be a champion, and not just a fucking, a small time title. Like you can be the guy in the company and come back from any spot that you were once in.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, we've seen it happen with so many people now. I feel like people are kind of more leaning towards like looking towards maybe I could leave the company. Maybe I could go on the indies. Maybe I could go to Japan. We saw it with CJ Parker, went to Japan and he just beat Kenny Omega in the G1. Like people are realizing, oh shit, this guy's a great wrestler. I think CJ Parker will undoubtedly get re-signed as long as he wants to get re-signed. And I loved that in the Drew McIntyre promo, he made a point to say, I could have signed with the main roster, and I chose not to. I signed with NXT. Mm-hmm. And I thought that made NXT feel big. It made the title feel big, made it feel like he wants that fucking championship. He won that championship from Bobby Roode, and then after the match, we got Red Dragon back out, and I knew what was coming. I didn't know for a fact. I didn't have spoilers or anything. I think everyone in that arena knew what was coming, though. Drew McIntyre kind of stares down with Red Dragon and gets ambushed from behind, and it is Adam Cole, baby. And I was going crazy in my living room. I had a beverage or two, so I was a little intoxicated, and I was just reacting like I was in Brooklyn. I was just like, oh, it's Adam Cole! It can't be! It is! Just going out, just fucking bananas.
Adam Cole.
I love Adam Cole. He's one of my favorite independent wrestlers of the past decade. And when I say independent, I don't mean Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor's not indie wrestling. I mean like PWG. His PWG stuff is the stuff that I love. He had really good feuds in Ring of Honor, but when he got injured, came back, it just wasn't quite the same. This guy is going to kill it. He's one of those guys for years. Everyone's just been saying, oh, he'd kill it in WWE. He'd kill it in WWE. Some people were saying, oh, he's the next Shawn Michaels, which if anyone ever says that about you as a wrestler, if I'm a wrestler and they're like, oh, yeah, that guy's the next Shawn Michaels, I shit my pants. I'm like, oh, fuck, I cannot live up to that expectation. But Adam Cole is an amazing promo, very good in-ring worker. He's got the look. He's got the charisma. He's got it all. He's got the catchphrase, the Adam Cole baby is going to stick. And Brooklyn did it as he was leaving. I am very excited to see what the future holds for Adam Cole.
So I guess obviously you were excited to see Adam Cole in an NXT ring, but was there any part of you that was disappointed that he didn't debut on the main roster, like an AJ Styles?
No, not really. I don't think he's a big enough name to debut on the main roster.
I mean, that crowd knew who the fuck Adam Cole was.
Yeah, that's the smarky NXT crowd in Brooklyn, though.
Yeah.
They were all wearing Bullet Club shirts, like everyone in that crowd.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it depends. It depends. Like if you did it, obviously they didn't want to wait around, and it's not relatively anytime soon. But like the Raw after WrestleMania definitely would have known who Adam Cole was.
Of course, yes. And I love. It looks like we're doing a Ring of Honor invasion. They were pretty clear about it. They weren't trying to hide the fact that this is a Ring of Honor invasion. I know that Donovan Dijak and Leo Rush are both on their way to the company. They announced both of those signings. So I would love for them to join. If we get an NWO-style invasion from Ring of Honor into NXT, like that'll be the hottest program in pro wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. That would it would definitely be. See, that's why I don't mind recycling old storylines, but just freshening them up a bit and modernizing them with different groups.
Yeah, I'm fine with just redo the entire NWO thing and everything they did wrong, try to correct it.
Yep.
Don't add 1,000 members to it. You don't have to sign the Dalton Castle's boys and put them in the stable, whatever.
Right. And Bullet Club did the same thing though. Bullet Club expanded to, way too many dudes. So keep that shit tight, keep it elite.
Hey. Let's not trash the Bullet Club. I'm in that.
I'm not trashing the Bullet Club. I don't like when any faction in general that gets too big, it doesn't go well.
All right. I'm in the Bullet Club, so watch your mouth.
I know you are.
Onto TV this week. Raw began with an Enzo and Cass street fight that went exactly as I would have predicted. My brother actually texted me and he said, hey, they're doing the Enzo Cass street fight just like you guys wanted. And I said, I think it'll just be a Cass squash match where he'll beat the shit out of him. And it was for a while until Cass got injured. I thought it was a work. Turns out that it's a shoot. His knee's fucked or something like that.
I told you that.
I know you told me. He was just beating the fuck out of Enzo until this happened, though. Enzo got that one reversal that ended the match. But Enzo comes out with a shopping cart full of weapons. Brooklyn is kind of, given enough credit where it's like, maybe they'll be into this if it's a competitive match. And then he just gets his shit kicked in time and time again. He's dead. Enzo is dead. He is Zack Ryder in 2012 after being pushed off the stage by Kane dead.
But not
There's
yet.
no coming back.
Not really.
There's no coming back.
There is.
There's not.
We'll get to it.
Kurt Angle introduced the newest member of the Raw roster in John Cena. John Cena came out and he called out Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns came out, and this segment felt huge. It was the mega powers colliding. These are the current face of the company versus the guy that was the face of the company for the past 12, 13 years.
And is arguably still the face of the company.
Arguably, yeah. When he's there, he is. But I turned to you and I was just like, this can main event WrestleMania. I would like this to main event WrestleMania.
And it should.
I even threw the tweet out. Yeah, it's like Cena and Reigns needs to main event WrestleMania at some point. They're two of the best big match wrestlers WWE has going. Whether people want to admit that or not, that John Cena is one of the best big match wrestlers of all time, Big Match John. And Roman Reigns always delivers when he's put in spots. Always, time and time again, always delivers.
Yeah, but it's isn't it a little, well, not necessarily. I was going to say, isn't that a little too soon to tease it because, we've seen Rock Cena teased a fucking year in advance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely, I don't want to see this match, keep it shit like this. Keep it just confrontations and promos. They put them together in a fucking tag team later in that night, so it can't be too heated. But yeah,
I'm cool with the tag team stuff.
Yeah.
I would just, speaking of ripping storylines, I would just rip Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 6.
Yeah.
The whole build into that match was one of the more perfect builds of all time. Like, make that confrontation come at the Royal Rumble. Like,
I don't want it
they're
at the
friends,
Rumble.
they're friends, and then at the Rumble, while they're both in there, it's like, oh shit, these two might have some beef.
Yeah, that's fine if it's not a match. Like if they're in the Rumble.
No.
Together,
I mean, they're both in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And they like clear out the ring, turn around, and they realize they're the only two left at that time.
Yeah, that's fine. Just if you give me, 8 months of a build towards a WrestleMania main event, that's fucking great. Because there's nothing more in pro wrestling that I hate more than a poorly built, shitty feud that just seems so forced in terms of, you're supposed to care about this. All right, but I don't, and it's your fault that I don't care about this. It's not me, it's you.
Yeah. We got a Cruiserweight match. I just wanted to quickly mention this match. It was an 8-man tag, and it was really good, and the crowd just absolutely shit on it. The crowd is throwing beach balls everywhere. There's a billion beach balls. They're doing the wave. Fuck this shit.
You want to know why, Robbie?
Why?
Because the Cruiser division sucks.
They don't suck. This was a good match.
They're not bad wrestlers. I just don't care about the division. They have yet to give me a reason why. Like
You know what you can change to, though?
What?
Coming up?
What?
You can change the channel over to Monday Night Football when the Cruiserweights are coming, because you've been waiting for this since February 6th. Football season's almost here. There's no better way to get closer to the game you love than with DraftKings 1-Week Fantasy Football. To celebrate, DraftKings is hosting a $100,000 contest that is totally free to enter. If you draft the perfect lineup, guess how much money you could win?
How much?
$1 billion with a B. $1 billion. $1 billion. $1 billion. You could be Ted DiBiase, the billion-dollar man. With DraftKings, there are many ways to get into the action. Choose between public contests with big cash prizes or private contests where you compete against your buddies just for bragging rights for a dollar or two, whatever you want. DraftKings also has beginner and casual contests where you'll play against some people that have a similar skill level of you. Like if you're like me, I love football. I think it's a great sport. Don't know a ton about it. So that would be where I would go. The best part is you get to draft a team each week without any commitment. If you draft a shitty fantasy football lineup like a normal one that Glenny Balls did, you drafted the worst lineup I've ever seen. Guess what? 1 week, that's gone. You're good. So go to DraftKings.com right now. Use the promo code ROPE. That is ROPE to play in DraftKings' free Week 1 contest with $100,000 in total prizes. And how could you forget, if you draft the perfect lineup, you can win $1 billion. That is promo code ROPE, ROPE, to play for your shot to win $1 billion Week 1. The contest is totally free to enter, so why the fuck wouldn't you try? DraftKings, the game inside the game. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
That was a great ad read by you, Bob.
Thank you, pal.
That's good stuff.
I enjoy ad reads. They're a good time. Go to DraftKings.com.
Yeah, for sure.
Rollins and Ambrose came out to talk about their title win, and we got pretty much exactly what we were asking for at the SummerSlam recap pod when the Hardy Boys interrupted. And they had a match, and it was pretty good. They were clearly not going all out because it was on Raw. This wasn't like they weren't going for the Usos New Day false finish catalog, but I stand by that this, if Brock is not going to be on a Raw pay-per-view, main event it with this. Just see what happens.
All right, so which tag team do you turn? Because they're not going to, if this is going to be a program.
You go face-face.
Nope. They're turning somebody, guaranteed. There's not just going to be a friendly feud of this magnitude that obviously the fans want to see without a heel-face aspect to it.
I disagree.
I guarantee you one of these teams is turning, and it's probably going to be the Hardys.
If the Hardys turn and they're broken, the issue is they'll get cheered over Rollins and Ambrose, I think. And it'll be like you might as well have a face-face feud.
No,
if the Hardys and they're just bad guys, then it's like maybe they'll get booed, but they're still the Hardys. People still have nostalgia. Their theme will still get a huge pop.
Yeah.
So, but we've seen Matt Hardy reinvent himself clearly, so maybe he invents a new heel character that people love to hate.
And he's definitely, if it seems like every week he's doing a little bit more of the broken Matt Hardy gimmick.
It's
which
like
leads
adding it every week.
yeah, it leads me to believe that that whole thing about not having the rights to use the character, I think they have the rights. They're just it's a very slow build towards just throwing it out there.
They might at this point. Who the fuck knows? Here's another thing, kind of like the Cruiserweight match, where I just wanted to touch on it real quickly because it made me laugh. Jason Jordan, when he went to Kurt Angle backstage and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I don't want special treatment, but can you give me Finn Balor tonight?" Kurt Angle gave him this look like, "Oh no, son, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You don't want that." He was like, "I do." And then he went in there with Finn Balor and he got his ass kicked.
I don't fucking like this Jason Jordan as a face, and I've harped on this for the last 2 weeks, makes 0 sense. Everyone hates the fucking coach's kid, and that's who he is. Why am I supposed to like Jason Jordan as a babyface when he's like, "Dad, can I have a match with Finn Balor?" "Sure, son. Here you go." And it's just like, why am I supposed to like that guy as a babyface? Like, that is the most heel fucking... It's like a cheap heel. It's not like a...
It's horrible stuff.
Yeah, like, you know, like when Triple H was a heel. That was like a in your fucking face, like, I'm better than you. Like, this is just like a cheap type heel.
It's like a chicken shit heel.
Yeah, like, and it's not even like the Seth Rollins chicken shit. Like,
No.
it's like a comedic thing. Like everyone, we can all relate. We all hate the coach's kid. That's what Jason Jordan is.
I was the coach's kid.
Well, I hate you.
Main event of the night was Cena and Reigns versus Joe and Miz. Oh, we forgot to mention Samoa Joe came out and interrupted that segment with the Miz. The Miz came out, Miz Taraj, all that shit. Fine main event match, and they already planted a seed where Roman Reigns went to hit Samoa Joe with a Superman punch and accidentally caught Cena.
Ooh.
Broke his jaw or something. Cena was like holding his jaw the whole
Yeah.
time. Not legit broke his jaw, but you know what I mean. We're talking kayfabe here, folks.
Yeah. Try to keep up.
Good main event, but it was a very like the crowd was doing the wave, the crowd was doing beach balls, the crowd had checked out already. It reminded me of the Raw after WrestleMania 31 where they main evented with like this huge 6-man tag and everyone was like, "Yeah, we're kind of exhausted actually."
Yeah.
I hate beach balls.
I know you do, but so when they were doing the beach ball for Cesaro and Sheamus versus Ambrose and Rollins, that I disagree with going beach ball there. There are matches on any card where it's like, yeah, this match kind of sucks. We're going to entertain ourselves instead of it's. What would you rather see? Would you rather see the crowd heading for the exits for a piss break or going to get a beer, or would you rather see them stay in their seats, kind of half pay attention to the match and throw some beach balls around?
Undoubtedly go to your seat for a piss break because especially if I'm watching at home, I might be enjoying the match just like I was the Cruiserweight match this week. If you're doing the beach ball thing, if you're doing the wave, you're taking away from that match. So like at least allow others to enjoy the match that's in the ring that they bought possibly $400 tickets for.
Yeah. Fair.
That's my call. What you alluded to earlier when talking Enzo, he debuted on 205 Live this week.
Which we pretty much predicted that a month
Just like
ago.
we fucking said he would.
Yeah. But I hate
Rest
this.
in peace. Rest in peace, Enzo Amore.
I fucking hate this, Robbie. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I want to go to the root of the problem. And this is what we talked about on our SummerSlam recap show, which if you haven't listened to, go to iTunes, check that out. That was one of our best shows ever, I think, together.
I think so too.
Yeah. So with the whole root of the problem, it was breaking Enzo and Cass up in the first place. And we sort of defended it by saying, you know, let's see it play out. And the original breakup, that promo is the promo of the year. It's yet to be dethroned. There's nothing that was better that happened before it. There's nothing that's been better that's happened since it happened. And the following week, we just had a disagreement. We're back together. That was another great promo. So there was 2 great promos to come out of the Enzo and Cass split. Since the Enzo and Cass split, we've gotten nothing but garbage. Absolute garbage. And I would be curious, obviously that this isn't going to happen, but I'd be interested to be a fly on the wall in either room with Enzo and Cass, either when they're talking about the direction that both of them are going in from here privately, or what they're saying to people close to them? Like, how do they actually feel about the breakup and how it's gone for each of them since then? Because if you're Enzo, and even Cass for that matter, how could you feel good about being the most popular tag team in the company, both in NXT and on the main roster, getting the loudest pop of the night every single night, every single city, the entire crowd saying every single word to your opening act once you come through the curtain, and then splitting up, and then Cass feuds with the Big Show, which no one really was invested in, and now Enzo is in fucking 205 Live, which I would estimate maybe 2.5% of the main audience who watches the pay-per-views and Raw and SmackDown watches 205 Live. So
if that.
And it's just like, if you're going to split up your most popular tag team in the company, you have to have a plan set in place that I would assume these guys agreed to. It's like, all right, we're going to split you up, but Cass, you're going to go on to do this. Enzo, you're going to go on to do this, and it's going to be great for the both of you, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what plan was pitched to them post-split up, but if this was it, if this was, hey, Enzo, we're going to put you on 205 Live. If you're Enzo, you're going to be like, go fuck yourself, pal. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm in one of the best spots on Monday Night Raw, and you're going to put me on 205 Live. Like, yeah, for sure. Let's do that. Let's kill all my merch money that's coming in. Let's kill all the momentum that we've built up over the last 4 or 5 years. It's just, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever what they're doing with both of these guys.
Especially Enzo, he's got to know that he's not the most talented in-ring technician in the world. And 205 Live is mostly wrestling-based. Like, why would you want to go there and expose yourself?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's
no sense.
Enzo, and I think you suggested this maybe right around the time of the breakup, saying that Enzo makes more sense being a manager, and I hated that idea. But honestly, I would much rather see Enzo as a manager on Monday Night Raw than an in-ring competitor on 205 Live, because I don't watch 205 Live, and you can't get me to watch 205 Live. And this is as one of the biggest Enzo fans on the planet. Like, if your plan was to put Enzo on 205 Live as a way to get more people to watch it, take it from someone who loves Enzo and drinks out of a fucking Enzo WWE glass that has a picture of his mic on it. That's how much I like Enzo. I will not watch 205 Live just because Enzo's there. I won't do it. Like, I don't like, there's already too much programming during the week to where Raw, SmackDown, and the 2 pay-per-views a month, and then I'll watch a little bit of NXT. But 205 Live, I just don't give a shit about the cruiserweights, and adding Enzo to that mix does not automatically make me invested in 205 Live or the Cruiserweight division. I still don't care. And you ruined Enzo. It was one of the best things that you had going. I don't understand the logic behind it. And in the process of doing this, you kind of fucked up not just one tag team, but 2 performers that were really drawing significant interest from your viewing audience. You morons.
On the brighter side, how was SmackDown this week?
SmackDown is it's still the B show, which it was the A show for a hot minute. Minute. Still the B show.
That minute. That minute was so much fun.
So good. It was so good. They came out of the gates, guns blazing, and I totally bought into the whole land of opportunity thing that they were pitching. They kind of abandoned that tagline as, SmackDown, the land of opportunity. I like that because I like the aspect of being like, yeah, fuck, Jinder Mahal, he can win the WWE title. You never know.
I don't like that aspect.
You never know. I know you're not a Jinder guy.
What were the highlights of SmackDown?
So AJ Styles and Kevin Owens started off the show with a promo. And AJ Styles said that he was going to bring back the U.S. Open Challenge, and it was answered by
Let's go.
Kevin Owens answered this, comes out and demands the rematch, and this is sort of shot down. AJ Styles is like, I'm done with you. And then it turns into, we're going to have a match tonight to end it. And I guess like if Kevin Owens does not successfully beat AJ Styles, then he's just done. He can't challenge for the U.S. title anymore. And then the rest of the night, Kevin Owens is backstage asking different people backstage if they would be the special guest referee. So obviously he's trying to find, a crooked ref in his favor. And who does he go to first? Guess who he goes to first?
Can't imagine who his character would get along with on that show.
He doesn't get along with anyone, so he tries to go to someone who he used to get along with.
Sami Zayn?
Sami Zayn. He goes to Sami Zayn, and they said, we've been fighting for so long that I don't even know what we're fighting about anymore. Let's, bygones be bygones. Would you be interested in being the special guest referee tonight? And Sami Zayn gives it some thought. He declines. The special guest referee ends up being Baron Corbin. So this is how far Baron Corbin has fallen to where
Very nice.
Mr. Money in the Bank to cashing in.
John Cena.
Yeah, losing in 5 seconds, getting not squashed by John Cena, but anytime that you lose to John Cena and it only takes one AA to get the 3 count, I don't consider that a squash, but it's about the next closest thing because it's a fucking fireman's carry. It should take.
Yeah, and that whole match was just structured to make him look like an idiot.
Yeah, and Cena's been quite the troll recently. He's been trolling. Yeah. He trolled Baron Corbin at SummerSlam. He was trolling Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw. But yeah, this was Baron Corbin comes out and he's doing a quick count. He's doing exactly what Kevin Owens wants him to do. He's quick counting when Owens goes for the pin. Shane McMahon doesn't like this. He comes out. He puts Baron Corbin's special guest referee uniform on. AJ Styles retains the United States title after a phenomenal forearm. And I guess that's it. That's how they close the show, and that means that Kevin Owens can no longer challenge for the United States title. So both of those guys will be moving on to something presumably as soon as next week. The other thing that was of note during this show was the debut, the main roster debut of Bobby Roode, which was, fuck, man, I wish we were there for that because perfect place for him to debut. I wish he went to Raw, but I get that SmackDown needs a little bit more star power. Crowd was into it. They all knew the glorious chant. He kind of so the thing that I didn't like about this was that I almost wish that they waited a week and did like the United States Open Challenge. But then again, you want him to win, and I don't think that they're ready to just take the U.S. title off of AJ Styles. But I want it to be like a surprise type debut. But for Bobby Roode, it was just Aiden English was out there singing, and then Bobby Roode's music hits, and then they just have a match. Like, it wasn't like I'm here, to just announce my presence and set up a feud that builds to my first match. It was just like, all right, I'm here, ring the bell. It was weird. But, he obviously goes over Aiden English, and Bobby Roode now on the main roster as a part of SmackDown Live.
He's one of those guys that is just, his whole career, even in TNA, he was always a guy I would look at and be like, he would kill it, like in WWE.
Yeah.
And then when he was in NXT, initially he was killing it, but the people just weren't as excited for him as they were like the other indie guys. And I just kept thinking like, ooh, I don't know if they realize this guy knows TV. He knows how to do TV already. He doesn't need NXT for this. He's a veteran of the business. He should have been almost straight to the main roster. I thought that at the time. Now that he had the NXT title run, I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they established his character. I'm glad they got the theme song, all of that. But he's going to excel way more on the main roster than he ever did in NXT.
Yeah, and I just think...
Not to mention Triple H loves the guy.
Yeah, because he's big.
Because he's basically Triple H 2.0.
Yeah. I think it was a good thing that he spent that much time down in NXT because if he had debuted on the main roster or shortly after debuting in NXT, he needed that time for the whole glorious gimmick and that character to develop as this like cult following type thing, where his entrance was was the best part. Like I remember I saw him at like an NXT house show in front of, I don't know, 1,500 people max, and he was so fucking over, and just from his entrance. Like his entrance is the show for Bobby Roode, and it doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's also a great in-ring performer, has great psychology. That's when he was working with Ty Dillinger, and he was stomping on Bobby Roode's hands, and he was like trying to like shake out the pain in his hands, and the crowd was going 10, 10, 10. And he's like, wait, what are you guys doing? So yeah, he's great in the ring. He knows how to tell a story, has a great look. So Vince will be very satisfied with the fact that he doesn't have the body of Sami Zayn. Sorry, Sammy, but you know, it's just facts are facts. Bobby Roode's fucking got the look. So I'm really interested to see how they build him up, and I'm assuming he's going to be like in the title picture within the next year. He would have to.
Yeah, you'd have to think that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not here for mid-card titles.
I got to hit the road in a few minutes, going over to the MGM Grand for Radio Row for Mayweather McGregor. But before I do, I have to pose this question to you for a little cream of the crop. What's your favorite NXT debut of all time, Jared?
My favorite NXT debut of all time.
This is, we're talking NXT guy coming up to the main roster.
Yeah. Wait, favorite NXT? Oh, I thought you meant favorite debut in NXT. But my answer is the same. My answer is the same. My favorite NXT debut of all time is the Wyatt family. I remember watching NXT, not really knowing what it was in the beginning, and I was like, is this, like, am I watching them practice? Are these supposed to be, like, actually, like, good produced shows? Like, I don't understand what NXT is, and the first act that caught my eye was the Wyatt family and the promos that Bray Wyatt used to cut, and he was basically a babyface down there. Like the fucking fans loved Bray Wyatt. You know, he was one of the first guys where it's like this is like Bray Wyatt is ours. He's not some act that got brought in from the outside, already established. Like he was, you know, created in a lab down there in NXT and was executed perfectly character-wise. He was, I mean, still is my favorite character to come out of developmental. And I think, obviously, they could have done it better with the debut and the feud with Kane originally. But just the fact that, you know, having watched him in NXT, watch him develop that character as he sort of went along, making it his own instead of just taking... You know, I'm sure he did take direction from, you know, people who were watching, like professionals. But just watching, you know, him develop that character and then have it debut on the main roster and be something that was, you know, not just like, okay, here's Bray Wyatt, everyone. Like, get to know him now. Like, fans knew who Bray Wyatt was because of his work down in NXT. That'll probably always be my favorite NXT debut.
Yeah, and you talking about him being a babyface in NXT, especially towards the end of his NXT run, he was pretty much a full-fledged babyface. And his farewell promo to NXT is just so good. You could find it on YouTube. Somebody got it. But my favorite NXT debut shouldn't be a shocking one to anybody. It is Kevin Owens debuting on the main roster, answering John Cena's open challenge, but not really. He came out and said, "John, I have no interest in wrestling you on Monday Night Raw." And then pop-up powerbombed him, stomped on the United States title, and raised the NXT championship. And everything about this was just like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. They are putting so much faith in, they're putting so much faith in Kevin Owens that they just sent him out there. He stood across the ring from John Cena, went traded back and forth on the mic, pop-up powerbombed him, and stood over him strong. Went on to beat him clean in the next match. And the rest is history for Kevin Owens. This was, you know, way to make a statement. A weird NXT debut that I love, and this is, it's weird to call it a debut, but I have to give it a shout out, is Finn Balor's. I loved that Finn Balor, his whole debut was just that he was a very high draft pick. It felt like legitimate. It made NXT feel like it was like almost a feeder system, almost college football. You know, you get it like a massive draft pick, and everyone from that city's buying that kid's jersey.
Yep.
Finn Balor being like pick number 5 or whatever in the first round was huge.
Yep, that was a good one. And for every good one, there's like 2 botched ones. Like there have been a lot of
Adam Rose.
Yeah, Adam Rose is one. Tyler Breeze is another. Yeah,
Yep.
there have been a lot of guys that have come up.
Tyler
from
Breeze luckily has found his way now.
But even still, I mean, for where he was in NXT versus even the spot that he's in right now, for, I guess, finding the most success that he has found on the main roster is still far from where I think most expected him to be, especially after watching, Breaking Ground on the WWE Network. They sort of propped him up as like, this is the golden standard of what we're doing down here in NXT. This is the guy that you want to model yourself after. If you follow in his footsteps, then you can become this. And then what is this? It's not, a huge success story on the main roster. I would say Bray Wyatt is probably that example for a guy that the character was created. Or no, I would say Seth Rollins. Well, Seth Rollins did some Ring of Honor stuff. But yeah, it would have to be Bray Wyatt, right? A guy that just started in NXT, made it to the main roster, and had success in main events and winning, championships.
Yeah, it's either him or Charlotte Flair.
Okay, yeah. That's another good one. But at least, I mean, yeah.
But like Charlotte Flair, like Alexa Bliss is there for me.
Not
out of
yet.
Fox one for me is Corey Graves as a commentator. I think is fantastic, but that's obviously a completely different route.
Yeah. I think Alexa Bliss, for as great as she is still not in Charlotte Flair's stratosphere. Not yet. She can be, but she's not. For as great, I mean, we prop her up. I don't think that I don't think that we're wowed yet by her. Like when you watch Charlotte at her best, it's wow type shit. We don't wow over Alexa Bliss. We just recognize that, wow, she's really fucking good.
Very good point. That wraps it up for us this week. Enjoy this interview we got coming up with The Big Show, Paul White, the Giant. Call him whatever you want. We'll call him Big Show. Call him the Vape God because he's vaping his balls off at every Hall of Fame ceremony. But that's it for us this week. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you download, rate, subscribe, send us your reviews. They're making us laugh. See you next week.
Okay, and joining us now is the 2-time WWE champ, 2-time World Heavyweight champ, Intercontinental champ, 8-time Tag champ, ECW champ, United States champ, 3-time Hardcore champ, 5-time Slammy Award winner. He's won everything there is to win in wrestling. Our guest at this time is the Big Show. How you doing, Big Show?
I'm doing good. You started listing off all those titles, and I figured at some point I might be over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many. If you got a picture ever with all of the titles together, that would be like the heaviest picture of all time.
Yeah, I know. That's funny because, you got to think about, like, I think the only title I have, I've never been a guy to collect memorabilia. That's not my deal. Some guys live for it. I'm okay, that was good today. What are we doing tomorrow kind of guy. But I have a title when I beat Lesnar in the Garden that Heyman sent me. It was a framed picture of him and I and the title. That's the only championship I have up is that one.
It's funny. It's funny you bring up that match. When we had Kevin Owens on the show, we always ask our guests for an obscure match, a match that might have gone forgotten that people should check out, and that was actually the match he brought up. He said it was one of his favorite matches of all time. Yeah,
Kevin's a good dude. He's a real good dude. He's a big time knowledgeable student of the game too, and has his own insights on who his favorites are. It's just funny when I see a guy as talented as Kevin Owens that tells me, "Oh, I love watching you when I was a kid." I'm like, "What? That's awkward because I like watching you now." So weird.
There's a lot of different guys, and even the women wrestlers too, that refer to you as their mentor. How much? How much does that mean to you to be looked up to everyone that's in the back there?
Well, I think it's a huge honor. I've came to this business. I came in really young with a lot of veterans, opposed to how the business is now. Now there's very few veterans and a lot of young guys. The pendulum has shifted, so to speak. But when I came in, guys like, Rick and Arn Anderson and Sting and Luger and Hogan and Savage, Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, those were a lot of guys just in WCW that had influence and tried to help me. And DDP and Stone Cold Steve Austin, those guys always imparted on me about a respect for the business and always leaving the business better than when you came in. You always give back to the industry and give back to the business. And I think that's one thing I've been able to help. I mean, listen, I'm nowhere near as technically as good a trainer as a Lance Storm or Norman Smiley or Billy Gunn, any of those guys that do the intense one-on-one training with the younger talent. But little things that I see, I always give an honest opinion of. I mean, let's face it, I'm not a guy for wrist locks or hammer locks or arm drags or any of that kind of stuff. I'm kind of stuck with my gimmick. It's pretty generic. Doesn't mean I don't know what's proper and what isn't proper. So when, the guys and gals are doing something that's not beneficial to them, I've always been one to tell it like it is. When it's great, I tell them, and when it's the shits, I tell them too. So right. I think over time they've learned to respect that. And just to bring up women's wrestling, I am so proud of our women's division, because I go back to the days when it was bras and panties and pillow fights and all that stupid crap, to now where girls are pulling 2 or 3 segments and they're pulling ratings and they're kicking ass, and the rest of the guys on the show need to lace up their boots because these girls are running it. Did you guys see the match Monday night with Sasha and Nia?
Yes.
Oh, my God. I was jumping up and down in Gorilla. That was one of the best matches I've seen storytelling-wise, and I don't know how long. It was an amazing match. And, like most of the time when you go into break, a lot of guys know, okay, well, nothing's happening on TV, so we'll chill and settle it down. There's a few old-school guys that always work through breaks, like Undertaker and Triple H and guys like that. When you're working them, you go through break. Break doesn't mean shit when you're working them. That means you're still working.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was a different philosophy for some guys, like if we're not on camera, brother, then, put me in a rear chin lock. Well, I was really impressed at those two who worked through the break, who did very innovative, very intense psychology spots. They were combative. They featured each other, and and it was funny when Nia and Sasha first started, because Sasha's a pistol. You know what I mean? I mean, she's tiny, but she'll fight me. She has no fear. But trying to explain psychology is, when you're small and you're attacking a bigger opponent, it's okay to attempt and fail. Attempting and failing is not a bad thing, because eventually you'll attempt and overcome. And I was just amazed at that match at Monday night. I thought they actually tore the place down. I really did. I was one of the best one-on-one single match storytelling. They had the time to do it, which is kind of hard because sometimes they give you 5 minutes to tell a story, and it's like, hell, it takes me 3 minutes just to walk to the damn ring. But you know what I mean. But I was really proud of that match, and I definitely want to get that message out there. If people haven't seen it, take another look at that match between Sasha and Nia and see the story that was told. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you are the biggest wrestler physically in the company.
Well, I don't know. I'm shrinking. I'm going.
You are shrinking. Yeah, I know.
From 502 to 205. I'm flipping the numbers.
Big Show on 205 Live. Heard it here first.
205. Yeah, that's the only title I haven't gotten yet, so I got to go get that 205 down. Neville, I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
You mentioned Nia. And have you given her any advice in terms of being on like the bigger side, working with smaller wrestlers, and just the psychology of that and using that size to your advantage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try to work with a lot of our bigger talents in aspects to who they are and how they're working. Like Nia's she's the women's division giant. You know what I mean? And I don't mean giant as in me or as in Big Show or any of that stuff. She's her own version of herself. I would never try to put a label on her. She's a unique, incredible athlete, a beautiful girl who's also a powerhouse, who also has presence in the ring of size and the ability to deliver, ugly violence. You know what I mean? Let's face it, that's what our show is. When you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, how big are you? What kind of a presence do you have? And how do you deliver to that presence? Do people believe like, oh, wow, that's a bad chick or that's a bad dude? You know what I mean? I've helped Eric Rowan, and, of course, my bastard son in WWE is Braun Strowman, so I'm trying to help him.
Yep.
If he would quit getting cheered like a damn babyface, it'd make me feel a lot better. But
we're huge fans of Braun over here, and I thought your stuff with him earlier this year was absolutely fantastic. The match you guys had where you main evented Raw and made the ring explode was like one of my favorite television matches this year. Was that something when Braun comes up, are you like, oh, we're doing the ring explosion spot, aren't we?
No, with Braun, it's more like Braun is such a hell of an athlete. Now, people talk about, when you were in WCW, you first started, I was an athlete, but I wasn't the athlete I think that Braun is now. Braun's, he's a little bit shorter than me, but he comes from a powerlifting background. He's extremely explosive, which really translates in our sport. Guys that are explosive have always translated well to the fans. You look at Brock Lesnar, you look at Batista, you look at Kurt Angle, even John Cena. The ability to take all that power and explode with it, is a unique selling point for a character. Braun has that power, and he also has the right attitude. I mean, he's just a good old country boy that likes to work hard, that loves the business, that loves the locker room, that loves to be up and down the road. He kind of likes being a heel with the fans, so he has fun with that. He doesn't mind getting booed. You know what I mean? So for me, working with Braun, it was more of okay, I'm not the big monster Big Show anymore. It's your turn now, kid. Go have fun. Go run with it. You know what I mean? You go take all the babyfaces finishes and work 5 nights a week and do dark match main events. You go have fun with that. I'm good. I put in my time. But no, he's one of the guys that's come along that just really has that factor that I like. I mean, when Braun, you don't have a problem believing that he's a serious guy that could beat the hell out of someone. And I think that's one of the things that I like about him. Eric Rowan is another one that I'm a huge fan of, because Eric's has done a 180-degree turnaround. When he was in the Wyatts and wasn't getting a chance to work that much, it was a little rough for him. But then he broke out on his own, and we had the oddest match ever, a stairs match, which, trust me, trying to put that together is a exercise in, biochemistry and quantum physics and put it all together. A guy that never even took chemistry in high school being me. So that was a unique, I couldn't even say it in a promo. We're going to have a stairs match thing, sit around, play cards. I don't know what we're going to do. But Eric Rowan really stepped up and just became one of those kind of guys that when you first worked with him, you kind of had to lead him a little bit. And then, the last couple of times I worked with him, I don't think I said a word in the ring. I think he called everything. We were working live events, and he just ran with it and knew his character and knew mine and sold and got heat. And it was just like, wow, okay, this is a beautiful part of our business. When you work with guys that are unsure in the beginning, and then they come into their own and they understand the environment around them and they understand the big picture. I think the biggest problem that a lot of young talent make now is they get too obsessed about what am I doing and how do I look and am I cool? Am I getting enough camera time? Which, okay, from a business standpoint, personally, yes, those things are important. But if you want to build a long-standing career and be respected for your career, it's never about going out there and getting yourself over. You get your opponent over, you get your match over, then you get yourself over. Triple H probably has the next shittiest WrestleMania record compared to mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you don't look at Triple H and go, oh, he's a shitty wrestler. You look at Triple H and go, man, he slays it on promos. He slays it with angles. He makes sure he's in the right angles. And when he works with his opponent, he makes his opponents better every time he works with them. That's where you want to get to a position where you can elevate guys and bring them up to the next level when you work with them. And I'm not the easiest guy to work with. I understand that. I'm not by any means like working with an Undertaker or working with a, John Cena or somebody like that, or it's going to be real easy to work with. I'm not. I'm big. I don't do a lot of things because character-wise I don't. Plus I'm old and grumpy and a lot of shit I don't want to do. So, if you're thinking I'd come out there and body slam me 4 times a night and get over, I got another tune for you. That ain't happening, kid.
Yeah.
But, it's part of that apprentice, master, veteran kind of thing that is one of the beautiful things in our business, an art form. And I think now the business is evolving where there's very few veterans left that are working full time. There's Dustin Rhodes is absolutely amazing in the ring. You guys watch him work. I mean, heck, he's got to be 200 years older than dirt. He's still amazing in the ring. R-Truth is 75 years old, and R-Truth looks great. You know what I mean? But you get a lot of those veterans, and it's good we have the Hardys back now to help the tag team division. You have Luke and Carl, in the tag team division. Those two have been all over the world, had tag team titles all over the world, and those two can go flat out. You know what I mean? Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, they're two of my favorite tag team guys to watch work because they have that unique art of getting themselves over, but they also get their opponents over. So as the younger generation comes up from NXT and realizes it's not stand here, pose here, cut promo this way, pose for the hard camera this way, here's my ring entrance, okay, that's all good to get that cookie cutter formula down so you actually look like you know what you're doing when you get to the ring. Once you step into the ropes and the bell rings, now's where you apply your craft. Now where you understand the meat of our business, and if you want to have, a 15, 20-year career, you have to make other people around you better. And sometimes it's at the expense of yourself because you just can't go out there and do all the things that you do to get you over and make you look good because that's not how it works. It's got to be a good balance. And then what's the story? What is the company at the time? What is our main focus? So we work on this individual to bring this individual up. Are they pushing you where you need to step up your game? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of kind of like algebra variables that come into play here and there, but really it's just a basic formula: get your opponent over, get the match over, and get yourself over.
That's very interesting. The talk about the veterans in the business, and like you said, now it's way more younger guys, and there are a few veterans. You've expressed this year that this WrestleMania was probably your last WrestleMania. Do you still plan on,
Well, I don't know. You never say never, brother. I'm not going to have, 15 retirements. I'm not going to take my boots out of the ring and drop them in the middle of the ring or anything dramatic like that. Well, unless Vince tells me to, which I pray to God he doesn't. But, no, I mean, I think, I've been in the past couple of WrestleManias and really haven't done much. I've been part of the Battle Royal, which I'm really proud to be a part of WrestleMania still to this day. I've had some great WrestleMania moments. I've been in a lot of WrestleManias. I think it's one of those kind of things where you have to move forward and start focusing on the new generation and what's coming next. And those guys, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Cesaro, Sheamus, all the guys that are coming up, some of our 205 guys, there's, our women's division. There's a lot of opportunities that should be made available to those kids that are on the road now, pulling that wagon 100%. I mean, my schedule has slowed down a lot in the past 6 months. I got a lot of miles on me, guys. I mean, I'm not into 5 nights a week up and down the road anymore. So we'll see what happens, how I can evolve and maybe still be a part of WWE and help out somehow. But I'm okay with this past WrestleMania being my last WrestleMania. It would have been fun to do the angle with Shaquille because it would have been nice to work with him and get some kind of you want to create that spectacle match at Mania. That fell through. Whether it's my fault, WWE's fault, Shaq's fault, it doesn't matter. It fell through. I don't think there's any hard feelings on anybody's part there. I'm not pissed off about it. It just happens sometimes. Sometimes business doesn't work out. Originally in the Mayweather angle, it was supposed to be Mayweather and I versus Batista and Ray, and both Ray and Batista got hurt before the angle ever even started. So I wound up working Mayweather. So that sometimes plans don't work out and other things come about that are better. So just because something doesn't work doesn't mean something else might not even be better. That's the best part about our business is we're able to take adversity and change that into triumph.
You talked a lot about mentoring the younger talent on the roster, but when you got to the company in '99, like it wasn't long before you started the Unholy Alliance with the Undertaker. What did you learn from working with him in that first year that you were in the company?
Oh my God, that was one of the roughest years of my life. That and the 10 months I spent in Louisville right after that was pretty rough. But I was always taken care of in WCW because it was a different business then. I mean, you were a rookie, you rode in the car, you drove for the veteran, you kept your mouth shut. If he told you to go get beer, you went and got beer. You drove, you did what you were told in the ring, and you rolled on. Mm-hmm. WCW was a very comfortable place to work. Everybody had guaranteed salaries. Everybody was comfortable. Everybody knew each other. It was an easy place for me to break in and work. I was kind of like the young kid that everybody kind of liked. You know what I mean? I could be a smart ass. I could be funny. I could entertain the old timers, and it wasn't seen as a threat or competition because everybody knew their spot or their role or were comfortable where they were. When I came up to New York at the time, I came up to WWE, it was very competitive. It was super competitive. Hunter was competitive. Mick Foley was competitive. Rock was competitive. Stone Cold, Taker, Kane, New Age Outlaws, APA. I mean, you had so much talent that was all vying for that TV time and all vying to be on live events. And back then, if you wanted to get an angle on TV so you could get booked on live events. And then you had to do well in the live events and do well on TV to make the extra money. Because otherwise you sat at home. It wasn't just because you worked in WWE, it wasn't a guarantee you were going to be on Raw, and it wasn't a guarantee you were going to be on live events. So it was very much you had to earn your way as you went. And when I came in, I had no idea how extremely green I was until I was left on my own. You know what I mean? Sure, I could do anything you told me to or anything you asked me to in the ring. But if I had to think on my own at the time, I hadn't done it for 3 years. I had Hogan and Savage telling me what to do. I had Flair telling me what to do. I had Arn, which is fine. It's how you learn. Obviously, you're not going to tell those guys what to do. But at the time, it was still, I didn't know how to fend for myself. And in WWE at the time, nobody was going to help you take care of yourself. If you couldn't swim, tough shit, drown. I'll take your spot. And it was a very competitive environment. We were battling with WCW then. I had come from a rival company that had really made it hard for a lot of the guys that had been there a long time. And luckily, I got Taker for a mentor. And it's funny because a lot of the stuff that Taker has told me, I've ended up telling Braun and a few other guys and some of the gals over the years, the same speeches that I got from Taker. I remember coming through the gorilla after a match and trying to go side ramp, because I knew Taker would be in the back waiting for me, and he'd be standing where I came out, like he knew I was trying to ditch him. You know what I mean? And he'd have that one crooked finger, and he used to have those gloves, and he'd have that crooked finger, and he'd pull it over to me, and he'd pull on his goatee and chew my ass out for about 20 minutes every night. But it's how you learn. It's you got to handle things differently now. I think back in our day, our generation was a little bit tougher as far as we took ass chewings and improved and got better because we were pissed off we got our ass chewed. I think the newer generation, you have to handle things a little different. The newer generation, I don't think takes, you have to give compliments with ass chewings. Like when I started, I just got ass chewings and I didn't do anything right. Nowadays, I try to point out the things the kids do right, suggest some things of why they might be doing it wrong, and to try it the next night and see if there's a difference, and if they feel the difference and understand why. It's not about doing A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. You have to feel the audience, because if you plan your match out, then you go out there, then the crowd loses you at C. How the hell are you going to get them back? You have to listen to them. You have to change. And sometimes that's harder on TV because of time constraints, and you have to get so much in a certain amount of time. But, I've never run into a live event crowd, non-televised, that even if they hated it at the beginning, by the end of it, with enough time, I could get them back into it. Sometimes TV's a little hard because if you go out there with the wrong plan, well, you're shot dead from the get-go. But, you can try, but that's the whole thing. You got to listen to the crowd. So it's just a different way of doing things now, but passing that knowledge and comfortable that it's okay to make mistakes, it's going to happen, just don't make the same mistake twice. You know what I mean? I think that's the best advice I can give our kids now is, you know, when you go out there, hindsight's always 20/20 on a match. You can always point out everything you did wrong after the match happens. The key is putting yourself in that match and going through that match in your head and possible scenarios and why you're going from this to that and why does it make sense and why are you doing it and how the crowd reacted, what part of the country you're in. Are you in New York? Are you in Boston? Are you in Pittsburgh? Are you in Atlanta? Are you in Texas? Are you in California? So it depends on where you are. The crowds are going to react differently. You go overseas to Europe, sometimes if you're new, it takes a while for the crowd to get used to you. So you may come out, you know, they may not give a shit, you know, but you have to earn the right for them to respect you. They have to become emotionally invested in you. And I think that's the thing I tell the kids. You can't go out and work a match like Shawn Michaels because the crowd knows who Shawn Michaels is. They're emotionally invested in Shawn Michaels. They don't know who the hell you are. Mm-hmm. So if you are doing a tag match and you guys, your tag team starts a comeback and gets stopped during the finish, and then you know, the dip, as they call it nowadays, you do a dip, and then you do another finish, well, the pop's not as loud because they don't know you failed. If you're a new tag team and you're a babyface tag team and you're going over, let the heels get their heat, get your hot tag, make your comeback, go home, get your win, so the audience understands, like, oh, these guys are our guys. It's just like back in the day. We go crazy. When Hogan started pumping his fist and pointing his finger, you didn't think Hogan was going to lose after that. Mm-hmm. You knew he was going home. That was his comeback. 3 Fred Sanfords, big booty, dropped the leg. But they got conditioned to know that our guy's going to pull through for us now. This is his comeback, and then here's the finish. It's the same thing with tag teams, you know. You see Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. When they got the hot tag, somebody go crazy in the apron. When that hot tag came, it was a ball of fire. And that's the thing. I mean, sometimes the kids now try to get overcomplicated and do too much. Well, you can't do too much if the audience doesn't know you. Once they know you, then you can do certain things and build on it. But it takes time. And I think there's no shortcut for time invested in creating that connection with the audience.
That's,
you know, if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely does. I pretty much agree with everything you said there. It's very interesting that you said, you know, once they know you, you can do anything. I hadn't thought of that really. You know, I'm thinking, why aren't some of these guys in the Cruiserweight division getting over? And it's probably because their characters haven't been developed yet, and they're doing, you know, 1,000 flips.
Their characters haven't developed yet. I mean, I love our 205 division. Those guys bust their ass every night, and they're all a good bunch of guys. You know what I mean? And I try to stay positive and help them out and tell them, okay, well, let's not throw this away. And, you know, I jumped their shit a couple of weeks ago because they were doing a bunch of spots in the ring. There's a live mic in the middle of the ring. And I'm like, jumping, she's like, guys, just kick the friggin' mic out of the ring in the middle of doing something. It doesn't matter if you're kicking it. It shows ring awareness and makes you look like a veteran. It's better for you to take 3 seconds to kick a ring out of the mic than to step on it and blow out an ankle and sit at home for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know your ring environment. Just if you take the time to look like you're in control, you'll be in control. You know, so just little stuff like that. But yeah, that 205 is just, it's going to take time, and it's going to take storylines that are good storylines to get people emotionally invested in. I mean, we all love Neville, but we've had 2 years to get invested in Neville on our TV. I mean, those that weren't, you know, that didn't already know about him from before, and when he was in NXT, what an amazing, tremendous athlete he is. But now we're invested in his character.
Absolutely.
We have a relationship with him. You know what I mean? So that's why, you know, when you look at him, he looks like such a boss in that 205. Yeah, he's a tremendous athlete, but, you know, TJ's a hell of an athlete. The other guys are tremendous athletes. It's just going to take time for our audience to learn to get to know them. Once they get to know them, they'll be rocking and rolling. I think, anyway. I think positive.
I think so, too. I'm a huge fan of the 205 Live and Cruiserweight division. So
I wish they quit stealing my damn moves, though, man.
Yeah. Normally, our closing question is an obscure match recommendation or a match that our listeners should check out, and you kind of gave that to us with Sasha and Nia. So here's what I'm going to ask as a former opponent of Floyd Mayweather. Who do you got for the super fight? Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor?
Oh, I got Mayweather.
Oh, yeah? Right away?
I'll tell you why. This is not even a contest. I'll tell you why. Number one, this is not UFC. This is Queensberry rules, boxing, whatever the friggin' deal is. This is straight up boxing, which Mayweather, pound for pound, in his weight class, is probably one of the greatest fighters of all time. Does Mayweather piss you off? Absolutely. Mayweather has a way in instilling controversy, just like Ali did back in the 60s. You know what I mean? Different nowadays. Mayweather's good at running his mouth. You look at a lot of times he would fight Latin fighters on Cinco de Mayo. I mean, he has a way of creating that promotion, but he understands the boxing game. He understands the art of promotion, but he's also a tremendous fighter. Mayweather is going to be so relaxed and so calm. And Conor McGregor, yeah, he's got a great punch in a UFC game. He's got some power behind it. But what I'm saying is, unless there's a miracle, he's never going to touch Mayweather. He won't get a touch on him because between Manny Pacquiao and Andre Berto and the other fighters that Mayweather has defeated, who are tremendous fighters and strikers, I don't see Conor McGregor doing anything but giving us a good, entertaining bunch of press conferences. And other than that, I see Mayweather running him around in circles and Conor McGregor's tongue hanging in shorts. Not that I love Conor McGregor in UFC. I love his outspokenness. I love his brassness and his balls. I think he is entertaining to watch. Conor McGregor is one of those kind of guys you just want to watch him. He's going to run his mouth and he's going to step up to the plate. But at the same time, he's stepping in there with a guy that is probably one of the greatest fighters in his weight class in the world, and it's unconscious competence, if that makes any sense. Where Mayweather is so good at what he does, he doesn't have to think about it. Where Conor now is going to have to change his instincts. He can't think, oh, right now I can double leg, or I can shin kick, or I can grab his arm and put him in an arm bar. He can't do any of that. He's going to go jab, hook, straight right, uppercut. He's got to think about punches and look for those openings only. While he's thinking, Mayweather's already reacting. And that's my philosophy on it.
I just hope we get an entertaining fight out in Vegas. If Conor can't touch Floyd, I'm going to be so disappointed as a Conor fanboy. But, Sho, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Anytime you guys need anything, if you guys want to chat about something, just hit Kyle up and I'll jump on. Not a problem.
We will do. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Sho.
You guys are welcome. Have a groovy day. And good luck with your show. I hope you guys get some bigger guests and continue to grow.
It's hard to get much bigger than you.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I'm getting smaller by the day now. So hey, we'll get the way Cass is going, he might outweigh me by SummerSlam.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh, that was mean. That was mean, wasn't it? Oh, it's so nice that I can sling fat jokes now. It's nice to be on the other end of it.
Yep.
But I'm a bigger guy here emotionally. I'll let it slide. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, man.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.